It all started with an old map, hidden between the pages of a forgotten book in the locked library of Cowden University. The book had belonged to Professor Harold Miles, a brilliant archaeologist who had mysteriously disappeared nearly 2 decades ago during an expedition to the Xanterra forest. The map didn't look real. It was hand-drawn, stained with age, marked with strange symbols, and had a red mark at the center of an area where, according to modern maps, there was nothing, just dense jungle. To most, it was just a historical curiosity. But for Leo Marvin, a young explorer obsessed with mysteries and lost civilizations, it was a calling. Something in him knew this wasn't just coincidence. This was meant for him. With limited resources and burning determination, Leo assembled a small team of trusted people. Maya Lin, a cold, brilliant cryptographer, fluent in over 10 dead languages, always hiding secrets behind her quiet eyes. Diego, a hardened ex-soldier, quiet and protective, haunted by nightmares of war. And Aran, a seasoned local guide raised near the region, who agreed to the mission for a large sum, but strangely refused to sleep during the first nights of the trip. The first 2 days were calm. Birds sang, rivers flowed, and skies stayed clear. But by day 3, everything changed. Trees grew taller, vegetation denser. Their equipment lost signal. Time seemed to slow, and the jungle took on a strange silence. It was as if the world around them had begun watching. On the 5th night, something woke them up. A metallic sound, like chains being dragged across the ground. Diego stepped out of the tent with a flashlight and swore he saw a shadow moving between the trees. The next morning, they found symbols carved around the campsite with supernatural precision. Maya went pale as she translated. "Turn back while you still can. He does not forgive the awakening." But Leo was resolute. The team pushed forward until they found a cave entrance buried in black, root-covered vines, thick like human arms. It was exactly where the map pointed. Aaron refused to enter. He claimed the place was sacred cursed. They convinced him to stay in camp, but by morning, he had vanished, leaving behind only his backpack and a single phrase etched into stone. The cycle has begun again. The cave was deep, dark, and alive. The air felt like it was breathing. The walls were covered in symbols, depicting beings with oval eyes, distorted bodies, and a central figure with 7 arms and a crown of bones. It was the guardian of the void, according to Maya. A being feared by the ancients who devoured time and memory. As they descended, the tunnels grew narrower and more suffocating. They found ancient skeletons, traps still active, and fragments of objects like nothing seen before. Then the voices began. Faint at first, soft whispers, repeating their names. Then louder. Familiar. Leo heard his father. Maya heard her long-dead sister. Diego, a fallen war companion. They began to lose themselves. The paths changed shape, as if the cave were alive, molding itself to their fears. Time no longer made sense. They swore only an hour had passed, but their watches showed 2 full days. At the end of the maze, they found the heart chamber. At its center, a golden sphere floated, cracked with black veins, pulsing like a living heart. It matched the artifact drawn on the map. This was the source, the force that kept the jungle awake. Maya approached it and was violently thrown back by an invisible force. Diego raised his weapon, but the metal melted in his hand. Darkness took shape descending from the ceiling. Came the guardian itself. Not just a monster, but an ancient spirit made of shadows, glowing eyes, and ethereal limbs. A terror that existed beyond time. In that instant, Leo understood the map had been an invitation. A trap. With each generation, someone was drawn in to feed the guardian with fear, with soul, with memory. But Leo refused to be just another forgotten name. In a final act of courage, he sprinted to the altar, grabbed the artifact, and shouted, "If this is what keeps you alive, then burn with it." He struck the sphere with a brutal blow. The cave shook. Screams filled the air. Light and darkness collided like storms. Then silence. Leo woke up alone, days later, at the edge of the forest. Dirty, weak, the burnt map in his hand. Maya and Diego were never found. The location of the cave had disappeared, as if it never existed. But Leo knows the truth. He feels the marks. At night, sometimes, he sees shadows that don't belong in the real world. Or hears voices whispering his name from the walls. He survived, but he didn't escape. And the worst part? The cycle didn't end. It merely went back to sleep.
A leitura é uma ferramenta poderosa para aprender idiomas, pois expõe o aprendiz a vocabulário, gramática e contextos culturais.